Did you ever watch Doctor Who?
No, I did not, but
Oh,
I
okay.
really want to get into it.
There's like a version from like earlier seasons. There's like this quote. And by earlier seasons, I mean like earlier seasons of the new Doctor Who, so not from the 1970s, but from like 2008, where
Oh,
like
okay.
the Doctor's like time is just like wibbly wobbly, like timey-wimey stuff, and like that's always stuck with
That
me.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it rhymes, so it has to be true, right?
Right, exactly. You have no idea the power of rhyming. Okay, I'm so glad that you could join me today, even though
Yes, of
time
course.
tried to mess it up for us. So welcome listener to another episode of We Read It at Night, the podcast where we talk about the books that make us want to stay up all night reading. And I am so excited to be joined here today by Birdie Schae, the author of the upcoming YA heated rivalry beach volleyball rom-com Smash or Pass. Welcome, Birdie.
Hi. Oh, I'm so excited to do this.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you about this. When I put it down, I just kind of thought how much it would have meant to me if I had read it like 15 years ago. Not that I probably would have read it 15 years ago because I was like deep in the closet, but just like as an undiagnosed autistic teen, as a deep in the closet, like sapphic teen, reading this it was so like validating.
That's literally the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your inspiration for like what made you sit down and say this is a story that I want to come out with?
So before I started writing Smith for Pass, I was working on this other book, and it was all about how I wanted to write stories that felt very nostalgic and like 90s rom-com, 2000s rom-com, but with autistic teens. Um, so the pitch of that first book was actually just like let autistic teens tell their own epic coming of age stories.
Yeah.
And while that book didn't get published, I am so grateful for it because that really inspired pretty much all of my other projects where I'm just like, I want to make autistic girls tell their own stories, but in like a mainstream-ish way where it's like, so this is like a Legally Blonde reimagining, very loosely, and I just like wanted to take those plots that are very um much not of the autistic kind
Yeah.
and like make it autistic
Yeah.
explicitly. That was the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it really what it was like very like proudly like this is an autistic character. I didn't know that it was a Legally Blonde retell that now that I'm thinking about the book, it made I can like see the threads there, but that's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very loose retelling, but I thought it would be so funny to the original Smash or Pass story started is actually just me taking The Breakfast Club and Legally Blonde and being
Hmm.
like, what if I combined these and made it like super autistic and gay?
And that's what all authors should be doing, frankly.
Right?
It's like,
Like just like taking a little inspiration and then just like putting all of my personal stuff on it, basically. Yeah.
yeah, because the Breakfast Club is like explicitly like you make an explicit
Yeah,
reference
it's
to the Breakfast
mentioned.
Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Legally Blonde, yeah. And you know, I have seen some people like argue that Elle Woods is like autism coded. So,
Oh, for sure. Her hyperfixation is pink. I will
yeah.
die on that hill. And like the compulsive heterosexuality in Legally Blonde is also
Yeah.
like very much an argument that can be made.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way this book explicitly like you have I think it's the character Maya who's one of the friends listener in this book even like get it's like really explicitly is like this is what compet is if you've never heard of
Yeah.
compulsory heterosexuality this is what it is and as someone who and I mean that's like a sort of a relatively new concept, at least in the mainstream, like in terms of
Yeah.
like we're discussing like how that affects queer people, particularly sapphic people. So like I didn't hear it. I didn't like hear about that till I was an adult.
And I think it's so important that terms like these are known because like I remember one of my lesbian friends in a friend group. She was once like, "Oh, and this fictional guy, he's so great." And someone in the friend group was like, "You're a lesbian though." And I remember that tripping me up so much because I realized that people don't really seem to realize that
Yeah.
like just because people like the idea doesn't mean they like the reality.
Right.
And I thought that it was important to like explicitly explain that, especially since this book is targeted towards younger people
Yeah.
who might not know what it is. And I just wanted to like put a little something out there for them to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. I love that it was like so explicit and it it really is because that the whole like, well, I can't be gay because like I have a crush on Captain America or, like I love the boys from Heated Rivalry and I think they're really cute, like I can't possibly only be into women. It's such a common,
Yeah, especially the heated rivalry one is so relevant right
yeah,
now because there's like a large part of the heated rivalry fandom consists out of lesbians, lesbian
yeah,
women, and people are like, you can't be a lesbian if you like heated rivalry, and I'm like, huh? These two, the dots are not connecting.
yeah. But also like you can like a story without fetishizing the main
Oh,
people. Like yeah.
for sure. Like, let's remember that too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like such a common refrain of like I like no, I can't possibly to argue yourself back into the closet that I know I certainly used like oh, here's a litany of male celebrities that I have a crush on. It
Yeah.
can't possibly be. And I mean, I am bisexual like at this point, but still like when I was like, no, I can't like girls. I think she has really nice hair and I'm jealous of the way she does her makeup. And like I just think those pants that she's wearing is really nice and it has nothing to do with the way her butt looks in them, like so I wanted to ask, just talking about writing a book that will hopefully be so impactful for like queer and autistic teens. What, and you being someone who's from the Netherlands and still lives in the Netherlands, correct? Um, what made you set it in Florida? I mean, obviously there's an element of like it's about beach volleyball, so it needs to be somewhere warm with a beach. But like, why did you choose Florida, especially like, just and I mean, I don't want to make assumptions of how familiar you are with like US geopolitical nonsense, but Florida is not a safe space for queer teens. So did that factor like into your decision?
It did factor into my decision. I think the reason I set it into in the US, in general, is mostly because publishing favors stories that US
Mhm.
publishing favors stories that are set in the US. So then I started researching and I was like, okay, I need a beach.
Yeah,
That was
right.
very clear
It's
from the
beach
start.
volleyball,
I need
yeah.
a beach, I need hot weather. And then I was like, what would be a good place for like these queer teens to really have an impact and to
Hmm.
I really wanted it to feel a little like you're in this small town that's like not open-minded and
Right.
everyone is like at school especially people are not very open to kids being gay. So those were important elements and then I kind of settled on Florida.
Yeah. So it was, sort of intentionally trying to
Yeah.
find, I guess, like a sort of like making a little glimmer of optimism and hope, like within.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, the Smasher Pass is about these queer teens finding a safe place at
Mhm.
beach volleyball summer camp, and I wanted this is gonna sound harsh, but I wanted them to not have that safe place at school because
Yeah.
then it would give people who don't have that safe space yet, they would get more hope that they can find it still.
Hmm.
And that was kind of the goal, where I'm like, even if you don't have this safe space yet, it will find you.
Hmm. Right. And that, yeah, that's such a common experience for teens. I'm not just in Florida, but all over the world, even in the most liberal, quote unquote, open-minded parts of the United States, like that's still an experience that so many teens have where they have to sort of divide up their lives into safe and not safe. And it's about,
Yeah.
finding happiness because of and in spite of that.
Yeah, I totally understand that because especially I live in the Netherlands, like you said, and the Netherlands is like known for being a pretty safe space for queer people. Like, they were the first to legalize gay marriage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So, the Netherlands is like known as this like prideful place, but it's all relative.
Right.
It's prideful maybe compared to a lot of other countries, but there's still, even though I feel safe here as a bisexual person, it's like when I was with my ex-girlfriend, and we never walked hand in hand just to be sure,
Hmm. Right.
in public. So it's like it's all relative, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And there is something really, really grounding about a book about recognizing that and acknowledging that and saying, hey, this is always going to be part of your reality, unfortunately, but you can still find joy and love and a happily ever after, you know?
Exactly, and that's why I think YA romance and romance in general with happily ever afters is so important, especially within these marginalized communities, where you can really give people the hope that they need, while also acknowledging the hurt that they
Hmm.
grew up with and will continue to grow up with. I think that's so vital and really helped me when I was growing up, and will continue to help me as I keep getting
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm so glad you brought that up because, focusing more on, the autistic elements. And I know you yourself are autistic, I'm autistic, but part of the reason that I realized I wasn't diagnosed until as an adult, and I had to like seek the diagnosis out myself, but part of the reason that I realized I was autistic was because of romance, was because I read romance novels by autistic authors featuring autistic characters. And you know, it was like that scene from the TV show Euphoria where the one character is like, "Is this fucking play about us?" I was like,
Cool.
I was like, hang on. Why do I relate so much to these characters? But it was seeing myself in those characters and then also seeing those characters accept themselves and have other people who loved and accepted them and who got a happy ending. And it was that message of, and this applies to queer romance too, but like it was finally seeing autism portrayed outside of, the sort of white male, like very stereotypical
Yeah.
depictions that we'd had before. And so, what was your sort of journey to, as much as you want to share, I don't want to pressure you into
Don't
like,
worry.
give me your full medical history, but just like, what
Here
was
is
your,
my autism diagnosis
right. I was like, let me
in
see your
detail.
psychologist notes. No, but like, what was, was literature a part of your journey as well?
I think it was a part of my journey for sure, but I think a larger part would be my brother.
Hmm.
So to get a little bit personal here, my brother was diagnosed with autism when he was like 3 years old. So I grew up with him. He's older than me.
Hmm.
And I grew up with him, and I remember one night going to my mom and just saying like, I think I'm like him. As
Yeah.
like a 9-year-old child who did not know, there was just something that made me think, hey, I relate to him a little too much.
Right.
And then I was like, I don't know what this means for me, but I need someone to know. And it took a few years after that to for me to go to a psychologist and get an official diagnosis. But I think my brother played the largest part. And then for accepting that I was autistic, which I thought I had done because I
Right.
came with the idea myself. Um, but it turns out it's a lot harder than that, and it
Yeah.
takes a longer while. Books definitely helped a lot, and also just like the author community, because even though there's not a lot of people writing explicitly autistic characters yet,
Hmm.
it's definitely growing, and I'm so happy to see that. But for the percentage of people who have explicitly autistic characters in their book, there's a whole lot more autistic authors who are pretty open about it too,
Right.
which I think is hilarious because I entered this community and I was like, "Hi guys, I write autistic books," and then all my friends were like, "I'm autistic too. That's great," and I was like, "Oh." And then it made so much sense
Yeah.
in the end because a lot of them write Greek mythology books, and that's
Right. Everyone said I had one hyperfixation when I was 12, and I will be making a career out of that.
yeah, and that's so fair. Like
Yeah.
my hyperfixation is rom-coms. So
Yeah.
it makes sense, but Greek mythology is really one of those like almost stereotypical ones. So
Right. Greek mythology, Marie Antoinette, Anne Boleyn, like the French
exactly.
Revolution, Anne Boleyn, the
History
Tudors.
in general.
Right. We all have one. Do you have any favorite autistic authors? Or like autistic romances? Like it doesn't have to be romance, but like this is a romance podcast, so I'll ask specifically about that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking, I know I read Sonido Reyes', I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name correctly,
Yeah.
but Sonido Reyes wrote a book called The Luis Ortega Survival Club, and
Mm,
it's not wholly about autism, which is great.
yeah.
But it's this really powerful story of found family and unfortunately also a sexual assault.
Right.
But it really touched me, and I really think they're an incredible author. I love that book. I love that book a lot.
Yeah. Have you read Helen Huang, like The Kiss Quotient?
I haven't, and they've been on my TBR for so long because I
Yeah.
know I will love them. I'm
Yeah.
100% sure of that.
Yeah.
Um, but they came out before I was like an adult,
Right. Right.
so
So, yeah.
it's like because of that, it's like lower on my TBR because it's like backlist.
Right.
But I will get to them one day. I am 100% positive of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also will recommend Talia Hibbert, her Brown Sisters series.
Yeah, I own the first one, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, I think.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, that one is like on my shelf somewhere. I will get to it.
Yes.
Then
Yeah.
some other books I've read with autism representation, obviously like A Kind of Spark by Elle McNichol is like one of the books that paved the way for autism representation,
Hmm.
together with Helen Wang.
Hmm.
Um, and I also really love that autism representation is becoming more of a thing in fantasy.
Yeah.
Like I read the Unseelie duology by Ivory's Hausman. And that just meant a lot to me because it's like this really whimsical YA fantasy with an autistic sibling, with an
Yeah.
autistic main character and her twin sister. It's just great. And I remember the day it was announced on Twitter by
Hmm.
the author, and I remember crying at the words autistic YA fantasy because I was
Yeah.
like, this is groundbreaking.
Right. Yeah. Especially because in fantasy, I feel like it's so easy for people because the characters are rarely come out in the book and say I'm autistic because it's fantasy and you know the DSM doesn't
Yeah,
exist. So it's
yeah.
so easy for people to dismiss it, but it's so clear when you're looking for it. Like this character is obviously autistic.
Yeah, and the thing is, in Unseelie, it's not explicitly mentioned in the book, but it's explicitly mentioned in the
Right.
author's note, which is like, I get that. I would have
Yeah.
loved to see it mentioned explicitly throughout the story, but I know a lot of people would be like, oh, but then it's not fantasy anymore, which I think is a
Yeah.
weird argument because, like, there's dragons. I'm sure someone has come up with DSM-5 too.
Right.
Like,
Right.
everybody has traumas. How do they work through
There's
that?
got to be a fantasy DSM-5.
Right, right, literally. But I get that we're not there
Yeah.
yet as a society to accept that.
Yeah.
So I think the author did a wonderful job.
Yeah. Two of the fantasy series that I really love that are one of them is written by an autistic author. And then one I'm not sure how the author identifies. And they're sort of light fantasy. They're like historical with like fantasy elements is
Ooh,
India Holton's series. The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels is I think the first one. It has like magic and there's like flying houses and pirates, but like India is autistic herself, so like basically all of those
okay.
characters are autistic. And then she has a second one that's about a second series that's about like ornithologists and geographers and like antiquarians that are also magic.
I am gonna look in and read all of these. This sounds
Yeah.
incredible.
India Holt and her it's like very funny. But then also the I personally felt like the Emily Wilde series, the Emily Wilde's
That
Encyclopedia as a
one's
Fairy.
also, I've heard a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like this heroine is fit is autistic. I was like I absolutely like
And I do really love those headcanons that we make that we're just like, okay, this
yeah.
character is autistic. And I think there needs to be room for that. But I also think it's lovely. Like I love how it can coexist with explicitly autistic characters now being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and neither of those have like are like I'm autistic, but like India Holton has been very explicit. Like she has like regularly posts. She's like, here's what all the character, here's the like explicitly characters I wrote autistic. And she's like, you know what? I'm autistic, so even if the characters weren't explicitly written as autistic, they're probably autistic too.
Yeah, it's like it's really valid because at some point while I was in my publishing journey, an ex-friend of mine, ex-friend for obvious reasons, as I'm going to explain the story, she was like, hey, if you're having a hard time getting published with an autistic book, what if you just left the word autistic out of it? And I was like, but I think that way. Like,
Right.
it's autism is basically in everything I do. Like
Right.
it's not just something I can turn off. So it was like even if I
Right.
took the word from the manuscript, it would still not be a neurotypical character.
Right.
So
Right, exactly. And also
yeah.
for Smash or Pass in particular, the fact that she's autistic is so crucial
Oh, it
to the
definitely is.
plot. Like it's crucial to the inciting incident of the book, which is that like she has, we were talking about the Brown Sister series, she has a list of things that she does to seem quote unquote normal, and then she
Yeah.
has a new list for volleyball camp to like become her true self. That's so odd. It's like
It's very autistic, yeah.
right.
Because my thing with the list of rules she made for herself to like fit in is that it's just this really almost exaggerated version of masking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wrote it to just like show really explicitly what masking is. So it's not like something a reader can just ignore or just like feel like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Read over. It's not reading in between the lines. It's there.
Right.
And I
Right.
loved writing that. I also think it's just so fun to like make these things that are normally in our heads like something more tangible, like the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really works well to teach people about the inner workings of our brain.
Yeah. And I think it does a really good job of differentiating between the sort of normal feeling that everybody, regardless of your neurotype, has, especially when they're in middle school and high school and they're young, of just like feeling like you don't fit in and like feeling awkward. You know, that's something that kind of everybody to a certain
Oh, for
extent
sure.
has, but you are very clear in being like, okay, there's that. And then there's like planning every social interaction and like suppress it and there is a differentiation, there is a very clear line between
Yeah,
normal fit not fitting in and autistic not fitting in.
exactly. Like, there are, I'm pretty sure there are some lines indeed where it's like, hey, these people, they are also trying to fit in. That's so crazy.
Right.
But Ellie is almost obsessive about it.
Yeah.
She has to put in so much effort in order to try to seem normal, and she doesn't
Yes.
want to be normal in the way like, oh, I just changed this one thing about myself and I will fit in. She's like,
Right.
I need to change everything about myself so I
Right.
can fit in.
And I need to
Yeah.
be, I need to not just be normal, but I need to be like popular so that
Yeah.
there's this extra level of defense. Right.
Yeah. And she just needs to be perfect, basically.
Right.
She feels like she can't mess up.
Yeah, there was this really like lovely way that you could sort of describe masking that. And I'm so sorry. I am going to read like a very small amount of your own words back to you for the listener. Um, but you describe it as Ellie is kind of like telling a story about like, her life. And she's
Yeah.
saying a few years passed in which the girl held her breath so that the people around her couldn't see her heartbeat. She didn't care that it meant suffocating herself. And that was so beautiful. Like it was such like a beautifully succinct way of showing hiding autism because she's like, I don't want people to see that my heart's beating, this like normal, like intrinsic part of myself. And if that kills me slowly, then like so be it. And that's such like, especially when you're young and you're masking, like, and it's
Yeah.
why so many people, I know you got diagnosed when you were younger, but it's why so many people, especially women, don't get diagnosed until adulthood because
Yeah.
we suffocate
Or never
ourselves.
get
Right.
diagnosed at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Or never get diagnosed at all. And it's because we're so like conditioned to suffocate ourselves to
Yeah.
keep people from seeing our heart beating that we don't realize that it's like hurting us and hurting the people around us because, going back to, Ellie has a twin brother, Noah,
Yeah.
in this book. And, when you were talking about your brother, like that sort of relationship, that sibling relationship was so, it doesn't surprise me at all that you have a brother who is likely very supportive of you, like, of your autistic journey and of you like being your true self and unmasking. And that was really clear. But the fact that Ellie's masking hurts him, right? That's established very early on in the book, that it's damaged their relationship and that, he hurts for her. So like masking doesn't just suffocate yourself, it like suffocates other people.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I also, one of my favorite lines from the book, which I can't recite.
It's okay. I mean, I literally had the quote pulled up on I didn't have it
Okay,
memorized. So I did just read it from my
but
phone.
I think in the first chapter, there's like a line where Ellie is like, my therapist once said. I don't have to fit in, and
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't judge other people if they fit in. And then she's like, but if this is what it takes to be treated like a human being, then so be it.
Mm-hmm.
Like for her at that moment, it's worth it to mask
Yeah.
because that's the only way for her to really be seen as a human.
And then again also sort of speaks to the intersectionality between her neurodivergent identity and her sapphic identity. It is something that many of us struggle with of like, there are now sort of two different ways that people can dehumanize you. And so you sort of have to pick what parts of yourself to try to chip away for
Yeah,
them to just accept that like you deserve to be treated as a human just because you are a human being who exists and that's it. That's the only criteria. But there are so
yeah,
many people who need you to prove why you deserve respect and love and a
yeah.
story.
It's really sad. But the reason I put that line in is mostly also because as much as this book is advocating for us to just get to be ourselves, I totally understand if people choose to mask.
Hmm.
It's hard, of course, and it comes with a lot of pain, but I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And I wanted that to be very clear from the book that, hey, you are completely valid.
Yeah.
And if you choose to not unmask,
Yeah.
that's like really great. You deserve all the love if you do that. But if you choose to not do that, you still deserve love.
Yeah. Right. And I do think that was clear, going back to Ellie's brother, Noah. At the beginning, she's like talking about why they've kind of been estranged. And she's like, well, because he found out about my list and he was like being really pushy for me to
Yeah.
disregard it. And I do remember like reading that. I was like, all right, Noah, like you don't know what it's like. Like you and your neurotypical ass, you don't know what it's like, you know? And
Yeah,
so
and the
it
thing is,
is
I don't blame him either. He is doing it from a good place
right.
in his heart, but in the end, it does hurt Ellie a lot.
Right. Yeah. And that nuance is, I think, so important, especially for younger readers who are trying to, figure out their identity. You make it very clear that, like, however, whatever meandering path you take to figure this out, you're not doing it the wrong way, right? You're doing it the right way for you.
Exactly, that was so important to me to have that nuance. Like, there's no right way to be yourself.
Right.
Like, the original title, I brainstormed for Smash or Pass
Yeah.
was really bad. Um, but it was gonna be called The One Rule for Being You.
Mm-hmm.
And the one rule for being you would be rule number one, be yourself.
Right. Right.
Like that's the only rule. Like just whatever feels right for you.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's okay if it's hard.
It's hard. It's
Right.
gonna be hard, whatever you do, but I
Yeah.
trust yourself to make the right decisions.
Yeah. I will say Smash or Pass is a great title. Like a great title. That was initially like I
I
think the
am
first
so
time your
happy.
book came across like my notice, I was like, "Ooh." Like a volleyball book about teens and sapphics, like great title. Props to, I don't know if you came up with the title or if like your editor did, but props to whoever came up with that title.
So the funny thing about the title is, so I had the one rule for being you somewhere in the back of my mind. But on Twitter, I was like, the one rule for being you is a really long title, and I
Right.
do not want to type that out every time. So then I was like, working title, Smash or Pass. And I started calling it Smash or Pass online,
And it's
just like as a
oh,
little joke because I thought it was really funny. And then people got like really, really attached to it, and I was like, oh God Darn it, I'm gonna have to call it Treasure Falls, aren't I? Um, and now I'm completely in love with the title. I still get some comments sometimes with people being like, "Why would you call a book that?" And I'm like, "It's about volleyball. It's funny. You can just live with that,
My answer to
please."
that is like, why do you hate fun?
Exactly,
What?
exactly. Like, where's your whimsy?
Yeah, right. I was a little bit upset that they never actually play the game Smash or Pass in the book. I was like, ooh, maybe a bonus
That would
scene.
have that would have been funny, wouldn't that have been? Oh my God, that would have been so good.
There's still plenty of other like classic teen games that they play though. Like, they play Spin
Yeah,
the
for sure.
Bottle and Truth or Dare and yeah. So,
Yeah, for sure. But now that I think about it, that would have been so funny with someone asking Ellie like smash or pass, Kiara, and her being like, "Ah."
gay panic.
Yeah, that would have been so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Like a bonus scene for something for later. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to just like write fan fiction. I don't know.
I mean, there are plenty of authors who I've seen like explicitly be like, "Yeah, I write fan fiction of my own books. What of it?" Like,
Yeah,
and they're like, "No, I won't tell you my username. Like, I do post it and it's just there and I will not be elaborating."
that's my dream.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if I were an author, I think my number one like goal would be for someone to write fan fiction of my
Yeah,
work.
yeah, that would be so cool. And if that someone is me, that's fine.
Who, you know what? Yeah, you're like, I said someone. I didn't
I said
specify.
someone, yeah, exactly.
So what do you kind of want for young readers to take away from this book? What's at the end of the day, what is like the most important thing?
Oh God. I put so much into this book, and I'm always like, it's about being yourself and finding your people, and everything is gonna be okay in the end. I think though, most of all, the message I would say I focus on the most, and I want people to take away from it the most is you will find your people. Like
Mhm.
you will. There's like a light at the end of every tunnel. You will
Mhm.
find your people. And it may take a while, and that's heartbreaking for sure. But you will find your people. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah.
I think everyone will be able to find their people someday. And I just hope that people keep hoping for that too.
Mhm.
That they can see like, okay, one day I'm going to have this great friend group, the one I've been dreaming of all my life, and life will be great.
Mhm. Yeah.
I really hope for that.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, and that's so needed for like YA books today.
Yeah,
Like it's such a needed message for sure.
yeah,
So, on a much less serious note, I do want to ask because you're from the Netherlands, so I don't know what the beach volleyball culture is like in the Netherlands. I know that you have water. The Netherlands has a coast, you know.
yeah.
So I was like, there's beaches. Do you play beach volleyball? Like, what was the, why did you pick beach volleyball?
So I played indoor volleyball for like, I want to say 10 years, but that's
Oh, wow.
probably too
Okay.
much. But I played it for a very long time. And it's my favorite sport, the sports that has my heart. If I could play it right now, I would. Um, but I did also play beach volleyball, though significantly less often. It was more like when my indoor team was like, "Oh, it's sunny outside. Let's go to the beach volleyball courts." I would be like,
Yeah.
"Okay." And then we would play beach volleyball for a few weeks, but I wouldn't say I was very serious with it. But I
Hmm.
definitely have a big heart for volleyball in general.
Hmm. Yeah. So was the beach volleyball was like choosing beach volleyball over like a regular volleyball camp? Was that just because you were like, well, I want to be a summer camp and
Yeah.
they do beach volleyball in summer camp?
I just thought the summer setting would come across
Yeah.
much better if it
Hmm.
was beach volleyball. Um, and summer camp is a very important place for me. I went to musical summer camp for eight
Oh,
years. Um,
wow.
yeah, a musical kid and a volleyball kid. What can I say?
Musical theater or like
Yeah,
instruments? Musical. Okay, so you're a
musical
theater
theater.
kid.
Yeah,
And you know what?
yeah,
That
theater kid.
that doesn't surprise me. I have that. As a fellow theater kid, I was like, I'm picking up. I
Yeah,
recognize
yeah,
one of my own.
yeah. Exactly. It's written all over my face. I know. But for that reason, so I had a really safe place at summer camp, and
Mhm.
it was like this place I could escape to. I was looking forward to it all year. And I wanted to combine that with other things I loved. And I was like, hey, beach volleyball summer camp makes a lot of sense. And it was just so much fun to write. So then I really knew like, okay, this is what I wanted to write.
Yeah. Yeah. And camp is like summer camp is such a core part of particularly like the YA genre because it's, this place out of your normal life.
Yeah. And it can be really transformative.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, those kinds of stories are kind of baked into the romance genre in general. I think even for adults, adults aren't necessarily going to summer camp, although I've certainly read ones where they go to adult summer camp.
There is a
Yeah.
book by Bridget Morrissey, I think a sapphic adult summer camp
Yeah.
romance, which I think is so good.
Yeah.
Like that should be more of a thing, like adult
Yeah,
summer
more
camp.
adult summer
Sign me
camp.
up.
Right. Like I haven't been to summer camp since I was 12. So like I'd go again. Um,
Yeah.
but like baked into the romance genre is like taking these characters out of their normal life and allowing them to fall in love in this different environment. And in adult romance, it's they're at a destination wedding or they're on a reality TV show or they're on a road trip, that they've been
Yeah,
forced to go on because their mentor did it or, whatever it is. Yeah.
it's a recipe for falling in love, like taking someone out of their comfort zone, kind
Hmm.
of. And it works really well. So I honestly get why so many romance authors use that.
Yeah. And something that I did appreciate with because I think that not all romance authors do, and I think it's usually more successful for me when a romance author does what you did, in which they don't end it where they're still sort of in that, out of normal life space. You take them back to normal life. And so you have Ellie and Sierra and everyone go back to school and go back to normal life and have them grapple with what it's going to be like to have their HEA in the normal life. And so I really appreciated that. It was something that I read this book. It's called A Mannequin for Christmas. It's an MM about a man. It's by Timothy Janofsky. Like I had him on the podcast listener.
Oh, I know that author, yeah.
Yeah, but he like the book is basically like a man wishes his like store mannequin to life and they fall in love and you're like, okay, how's this gonna work? But the end of the book, spoiler, is, I mean, minor spoiler, the mannequin is now a real man forever, because the Christmas magic has been
Okay.
extended. And the mannequin goes off and like lives a life separate from the his like love interest for a short
That's so
time,
smart.
and
That's
then they
so
come
smart.
back together. And then so now as a reader, you're like, okay, they're on even footing now. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think that's really, and this was very much, for going back to your book with Smash or Pass, it was very much like Ellie is spending the whole summer camp worried about what school is going to be like for her senior year, and then having her come back and really explicitly apply the lessons she's learned.
Yeah, that was very important to me and something I never doubted. I was always like, okay, there's no way this book is gonna end at summer camp because that
Yeah.
just leaves too many things unfinished. And I don't think you can really know you've grown until you apply it in your daily life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that was like very important to me that the growth didn't feel like it could disappear any other second. Yeah.
Right. Right. All right. Is there one last thing that you want to make sure listeners know about Smash or Pass or like your next book? Because I saw you posting teasers of the next book today.
Yeah, I'm deep in revisions, in drafting mode, um,
Can you tell
for
us
a
anything,
secret project.
a secret project?
Yeah, I can say I've already said this on my social media. Basically, I've implied it. But it is a loose 10 things I hate about you retelling.
Okay. Well, yeah, because you posted like teasers with 10 things I hate about you in the background, and I was like, I hope this means what I think it means.
Yeah, it's the rom-com of all rom-coms, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to do something with this.
Right.
And if I can say so myself, I had a banger idea for it. So I was like, ooh. But I'm afraid I cannot share anything else. But I hope I will be able to soon.
Yeah. Can you share whether it's queer or not?
It's queer.
Okay.
It's more bisexual.
Okay.
Because Smash or Pass is definitely a very much lesbian story with two lesbians falling in love with each other. This is about a bisexual falling for a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also an Arrow Ace character, POV characters, which is a
Okay.
very important character to me. So it's like double POV. One is bi and one is Arrow Ace.
Yeah.
And they're sisters, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Well, that's 10 things I hate about you. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that was
Right.
that was there already. Yeah.
Right. That's Shakespeare tape. Like I'm sorry, listener. It's based on Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare. And if you
Yeah,
haven't read that yet, I can't help you. Like there's definitely I don't know what the limit for spoilers are, but I feel like
yeah.
500 years is definitely exceeded that limit.
Yeah, I would hope so. But that's also what I've been joking about because people are like, "Oh, a retelling of 10 Things I Hate About You," and I'm like, "Yeah, so technically it's a retelling of a retelling."
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but 10 Things I Hate About You is it's one of those retellings that, like Emma, or like Clueless, Emma and Clueless, where it's kind of its
Yeah.
own thing.
It started to
You
live
know?
its own life for sure.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
people, like, I underestimate how many people don't know that that 10 Things I Hate
Yeah.
About You is a Shakespeare retelling.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. But it stands on its own. So it's like you don't
It
need
does.
to know. Yeah. Okay, Birdie, one last question. What was the last book that made you want to stay up all night reading?
Ooh. So I've been reading the Agency for Scandal series by Laura Wood. I thought I was gonna have to think about this question for much longer. But I was reading the second installment of that series, which is like the first about this um female detective agency in the 1800s, I think.
Old-timey times in old,
Yeah,
old
exactly.
times.
And it's like it's this romance series about these female characters basically like having an agency to take down bad men.
Oh, I love it.
And it's so good. It's so swoony. I love the romance so much. Laura Wood is really great at that. And I also just like the found family is there. Um And I also just really love how it shows like these genuinely good men
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes still needs to learn some things, but like
Yeah.
I think that's so nice in such a feminist story that the men are also clearly feminists.
Right. Right. And that the women don't need to, spend the whole book showing them why women
Yeah,
deserve
it's
rights.
not it's not like they like the men aren't perfect, but it's not like the
Right.
women have to be like, hey, you kind of suck right now. Be
Right.
better.
Right.
They just like don't realize some things, and then the women are like, think about it, and then they think about it, and they're like, oh God.
Yeah.
So
That's all we want. We want men who are willing to learn, will
they are
listen and learn.
trying, yeah.
Yeah.
They are trying in these books, and I think they're so good.
Yeah.
Like definitely recommend that series.
I'll have to
I
check them
have the
out.
third I have the third one lying somewhere in my room. Um and I cannot wait to read it. They're so addictive.
Yeah. I'll have to add it. I'll be adding that to my TBR, my ever-growing TBR. Yeah.
Relatable.
All right, Birdie, Smash Your Pass comes out May 12th in the United States,
That's
correct?
right. Yeah.
And I saw you just got a deal for it in Dutch, right?
That's
And it's
true.
going to be
Yeah.
translated. So
Yeah,
that's
so
really
I'm really
exciting.
happy about that. Yeah.
All right, May 12th, listener. This episode will be coming out a little bit before then, so you still have a chance to pre-order. And if you want to support local indies, you can pre-order. It'll be that Smash Your Pass will be linked in the podcastbookshop.org shop. So you can support your local indie while also
I love
pre-ordering this
that.
book. Yeah. All right, Birdie, where can they find you after this episode?
My main platform is on Instagram at Birdie Not a Bird. But I'm also on TikTok and on Twitter occasionally, but for obvious reasons, not a lot.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so lovely to talk to you.
of course, I had a great time.
Yeah. It was so great to talk to you. All right. Have a good rest of your day or your
Yeah,
night.
you
I
too.
guess it's night
Yeah,
now. Good night.
yeah, okay. Bye.
Bye. And listener, like always, you can find the podcast at We Read It One Night on socials. You can email we read it one night at gmail.com. You can find me at the Allison Finch. And if you have a little extra room in your budget this month, don't forget to support the podcast by checking out our Etsy shop, our bookshop.org storefront, and or buying me a coffee, all linked in the show notes. And a free way to support the podcast is always by leaving a rating and review and sharing with your friends, family, and followers. So, thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Godspeed, comrades.